Hey, Bob.
Good afternoon.
Happy Friday to you and Betty.
Good afternoon.
Come on. Betty,
Yes,
how are you?
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
Oh, okay. How are you doing?
Oh, I'm doing fine.
Okay. Are you getting out any at this point? Because
I get out some,
yeah, because you've got your
probably a little more than I was.
okay. All right. Are you going out? You doing any work outdoors, like painting or anything like that now?
No, I'm not.
Not that inspired yet, huh? Okay. All right. Yeah, I've been getting kind of a big itch to get out, just to get outside on a nice warm day, and just go, paint a little outdoors. I'm comfortable in the studio up here, but I'm kind of just want to get out and run around for a while. Getting a little cabin fever here, so but maybe soon enough. All right. Hey, Avatal, how you doing? You're muted, dear. You got to unmute yourself.
Right, there we are. Sorry. I'm fine, thank you. It's a beautiful day, a little cold, but still beautiful.
Yeah, it's kind of nippy out there a little bit, but it's it's in the 50s now. They said like 54, 55. So
Yes.
so that's not too bad. You could it would be a nice day to paint minus the wind. And it's not windy right now, but this morning it was a little bit breezy still. So, and
Yeah.
yesterday was crazy.
I know Van Gogh used to go out and paint outside, Van Gogh, and I think I read somewhere that there's still some mosquito markings on some of his paintings. Mosquito or some kind of little creatures.
Right. Yep. Yeah, that's how you know it was done plein air, because you get seeds and grass and bugs and all kinds of things in your paint. So it's kind of, in a lot of areas, it's kind of hard to even avoid that. But yeah, they can actually, in some cases, they've actually done testing, and they can tell exactly where it was done, like what region of France or whatever it was painted in, by the types of seeds and the bugs that are there. So
Oh.
so yeah, you can find out all kinds of stuff, if you want to know. So
Yeah.
these days.
These are the tidbits behind the painting, the work of art.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, if you definitely got a flower or something like that is no longer prominent, and is becoming extinct or something like that, and you go back and you want to authenticate a painting, and that flower was only around in the up to the mid 1900s, then you're fairly well assured that that's not a forgery.
Yeah, that's a very important point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so they authenticate paintings in a lot of different ways. Most times, they don't bother to go to that extreme, but like, for example, in the they found a Leonardo da Vinci, and it was in this tiny little frame, and all the scholars and everybody was arguing about the fact that no, we found all the Da Vinci's, there are no more, out there, and yet this one drawing, really, the guy who had it really said, that really looks like Da Vinci's work. It's his line work and his technique and everything else. And eventually, I think it took him like 10 years of digging around and traveling to places like England and Italy and things like that, and going back and looking at the old records and archives. And finally, he found that there was a book that was made for a royal wedding. And this was a member of the Medici family. And she had married a prince or somebody from like Czechoslovakia, right? And there was a royal wedding book, you know, made as a gift for her to take with her, you know, when she went to Czechoslovakia. And one of the illuminations or illustrations on the inside was actually several were done by Leonardo da Vinci. And nobody had ever known that, you know, before. And come to find out, this was a page out of that book. You know, they had what remained of the book, but it was missing several pages. One of the pages that was missing was that Da Vinci. And so, yeah, they actually authenticated it. That was only about like 10 years ago, maybe. It's a fascinating story, you know, how that came about. So anyway, how's everybody doing? We got 8 of us. All right.
Great.
Okay.
Great.
So it's Friday afternoon. I got some work from a couple of you. Jacqueline, I didn't get anything from you here.
Really? Oh gosh. Okay. I don't know what I'm doing wrong. I did what you told me, and then I did send some yesterday to the other instructor. I don't know what's going on. Maybe it's my phone. It's just gotta be my phone.
Could she be sending too big of a file?
Huh? Yeah, they're in the file. I can see them. I see everything in the file.
I mean, and
I did the attachments when I sent them.
yeah, they're in the email.
Yeah.
Okay.
They're in my email and they're in my photo files.
Okay. Are you sure? Are you sure?
I'm just gonna have my daughter help me set up on the computer. Maybe I can put the pictures onto on my desktop
Right.
and send them that way.
Are you sure that you're sending it to the?
All that work for nothing. I even went outside and took a couple of them.
Yeah, it's not for nothing. Okay, it's all a learning process. Okay.
Okay.
Are you sure that you've got the right email address?
Yeah, I know it by heart. I sent it done it so many times. Charles.Scroggins at Fulton, .Scroggins at FultonCounty.gov.
Okay. Spell out the name Scoggins.
Scroggins.
Yeah, that's where you're going wrong. There's no R.
Oh. Maybe that.
Scoggins.
Okay. SCR. Make sure I got it.
No, SCO. G.
Uh-huh.
NS.
INS.
SCOGINS.
Okay.
There is no R.
Okay. Check and see if it's that way. Okay.
All right. So do me a favor. Try to resend it, but change the email address and change my name to the correct spelling. And I'll bet you that it will come through.
Okay. I'll try. Thank you.
Yeah, that may be, usually with stuff like that, it's some little thing.
Something small.
Yeah. So I'll tell you what, we're going to watch a short 15-minute video, okay? And
Okay.
while we're watching that video, I want you to resend that email, and I'll check my email and
Okay.
send it, okay?
Okay.
All right. So, okay. So let's get started with that, and then we'll see if Jacqueline can get her work to us, and then I'll start going through all of the work that you guys sent in. Okay. And so this is about 5 useful tips to improve your drawings, right? Nobody needs that, right?
Nah, we're too good for that.
All right, so away we go.
Hello everyone, my name is Flage. In this video I'm going to give you 5 secrets that will help you be more accurate and more expressive in your drawings. These 5 principles work as a foundation to any drawing technique, whether the artist is conscious about it or not. I'll use this demonstration to unveil these secrets and show you how they apply. This portrait demonstration was done with charcoal and white chalk on toned paper. You'll find the list of the material used in the description box if you're interested. Without further ado, let's reveal these 5 essential drawing principles. 1. Establish dynamic lines. In any subject, there is a line of action, a line that seems to capture the movement of the person or the essence of the thing itself. In the blocking stage, at the very beginning of my drawing, I start by establishing the main lines with a soft piece of charcoal. I try to find the lines that convey the emotion that I'm trying to express with this pose. It's important to give enough consideration to these first few lines, because the rest of the drawing depends on it. You have to aim for expressivity before you start thinking about accuracy. The first couple of lines don't have to be perfectly placed. What matters is that they display the level of clarity or harmony that you're looking for. You have to feel that these lines convey the liveliness of the entire drawing. Avoid working on a single part too early in the drawing. This could make you forget about the coherence of the entire subject. During this stage, very early in the process, don't check for proportions, not yet. Make sure that the overall composition is harmonious first. Right here, I'm tracing the diagonals and the midline to make sure that the center of focus is where I want it to be. Find the main angles. Which lines are dominant? Which lines are supposed to guide the eyes of the viewer? The harmony of the pose is essential. It's better to capture it entirely. Composition has to follow the energy of the subject, not the other way around. In this,
you see, the world has changed. You don't need to sell at events and galleries anymore. You can go directly.
drawing, I kept the angle as wide as possible for a long time to make sure that the gesture was right. So I drew the arms and the entire hair. But in the end, I decided to crop it and I chose a different type of frame. One last thing. As I said earlier, these lines are not supposed to be perfectly placed. And you'll probably find out later that they need to be moved or changed to adjust to the proportions. But it's okay because the energy these first few marks bring will spread into the additional lines you'll add later on. And so you'll be able to start working on the proportions without losing their original dynamism. The second principle has to do with proportions. The secret is to simplify the shapes and keep the subject geometric for as long as possible. The real object you see in front of you has no real edges, and lines are just a creation of your imagination. So the reality of the visible world is that lights and shadows intermingle with each other constantly. There's an infinite variety of complex forms inhabiting the three-dimensional world, and you need to simplify that. The secret is to turn the 3 dimensions your eyes perceive into a juxtaposition of flat geometric shapes. Simplify by delineating the shadow shapes and try to turn the form into flat objects. Keep things geometric. What I mean by geometric is that you want to avoid tracing curves for as long as possible. It's much harder to get an accurate curve than a series of straight lines. You have to work step by step and start drawing curves when you're sure that the straight lines are accurate enough. Like a sculpture, Start with very broad planes at first, and then slowly cut the angles and refine the lines little by little. I work step by step, and I start drawing curves when I'm sure that the straight lines respect the proportions. You have to understand this concept first. Your drawing needs to start simple and go towards more and more complexity as you progress. If you try to do the shading and work on the three-dimensional aspects of the drawing too early, it can easily throw you off and disrupt your representation of the proportions. The next secret is to find visual landmarks that help you navigate through the project. The reality of the object or the person you want to draw is infinitely complex, so it is absolutely necessary to find things that can be easily grasped. In this drawing, my main visual landmarks are the center point of the surface, the left eyebrow, the ridge of the nose, and the bottom line of the chin. These key points are elements that I consider easy enough to locate. I choose the elements I can be certain about, and I rely on them to locate the rest of the features of the portrait. These visual landmarks depend on the subject. They also depend on your strategy going into the drawing. Choose noteworthy points that you think you can draw with confidence. It's always interesting to look for acute angles and sharp edges. Relate the rest of the shapes to these landmarks and try to articulate everything. The opposite strategy is to keep some lines flexible. Keep a side of the drawing open so that you can adjust it to have the right proportions. Your visual landmarks aren't supposed to move, but the flexible parts can be moved or modified as the drawing progresses. In this drawing, the parts I keep flexible are the hands, the left part of the head, and the neck. It seems trivial, but knowing exactly what is a visual landmark and what is a flexible part can really help you build more confidence and represent the proportions with more accuracy. You can see that I keep the eyes flexible in this drawing. I take my time before I start drawing the eyes. There's no rush, and it's the part of the drawing I really want to bring focus on. So in this case, using the eyes as visual landmarks is risky. It's better to wait and make sure that the entire portrait is coherent before drawing the eyes. So right now, I keep the eyes blurry. I refine everything first, make sure everything works before I start drawing the eyes.
Okay, real quick. If you remember going through the drawings this morning, we came across a drawing of the Pieta, right? And that artist, what did she do? You know, what she found is she basically found these sort of abstract shapes that represented light and dark areas, right? And she just delineated them. So, you know, pretty much so like this guy is doing. He's just finding these shapes of light and dark, right? And so, you know, like the shapes of the fingers, you know, things like that will all be those lighter shapes, right? Everything outside the fingers will be darker because it's the hair. Same thing with the planes of the face. It's like this frontal plane of the face, the area right here on the cheek, on the left side of the face, and then the right side of the face, you know, right in here, you know, will all be lighter, and the chin will be lighter, the orbit of the mouth will be lighter, the bridge of the nose will be lighter, and then all the rest of the face will be darker, right? So he's just delineating what's in shadow, what's in light. He hasn't started filling anything in, you know, but he's just more or less putting down, you know, some basic simple shapes that he can come back in and he can start filling in and develop the rendered drawing, you know, at that point. Once he kind of feels like he's got all of his shapes and proportions in the right place, and that they kind of relate to each other correctly, and they're in the right place, and the right distance and size relationship between them. Okay, so
now that we've talked about expressivity and proportion, It's time to talk about values and shading. The secret to representing lights and shadows in a drawing is to understand the surface. I try to avoid blending with my fingers and do everything with my charcoal slowly. The paper I use has a lot of texture, so everything looks very scratchy right now when I press the stick of charcoal. I try to avoid blending with my fingers because I find that the result is very hard to control and can feel very washed out. I prefer to do everything with the charcoal. Because I don't blend with my fingers, I see the surface as a juxtaposition of peaks and valleys. When you first drag a piece of charcoal on the surface, it looks scratchy because the charcoal powder doesn't reach all the peaks and valleys evenly. Of course, you can smudge everything with a stomp or with your fingers, but it can make it hard to control the values in the drawing. The difference can be very noticeable in the end. If you want more accuracy and control, you cannot just blend everything out. Achieving a smooth finish is all about helping the charcoal cover the surface evenly. This takes a little bit of patience and, more importantly, charcoal that can be sharpened into a very fine point. Avoid fine charcoal with a hollow core like this. It can work in the very beginning, but it's almost impossible to draw the finest details around the eyes because it's impossible to sharpen. If you know me, you know that I always use nitrile charcoal. It comes in different degrees of softness. B, which is very soft, HB, and H, which is very hard. Sharpen it with a piece of sandpaper. If the piece of charcoal becomes too small, I use a charcoal holder called the stylus. It helps me sharpen small bits that would otherwise be too small. Plus, the length is important because it gives me more control over the pressure that my hand exerts. It's the same thing if you want to draw with graphite. You want to sharpen it into a very fine point to have more control and, as I say, fill the holes within the grain of the paper. I shape my kneaded eraser into a very fine point to remove the excess charcoals on the peaks. Then I start placing the highlights with a Conte white pencil. Now it's time to work on the eyes. This is the crucial part, so I work slowly, almost pixel by pixel in a way. The distance between the eyes and the position of the iris have to be adjusted with a lot of care and subtlety. So this is the thing I try to retake my time with. I try something, then I step back and I try to see if something looks wrong, because it doesn't take much to make a cross-eyed look. But the good thing is that it's easy to spot. Sometimes I use an old brush to remove the excess charcoal and blend very lightly. Sometimes I even use a little skewer. Press lightly and slowly shape the eyes until everything feels right. The final secret is to find a focal point. Viewers need a focal point to lead their eyes throughout the picture. But how can you create that in a drawing? First, let's examine the difference between focal point and point of interest. A point of interest exists outside of the drawing. It's something that attracts attention in real life. Whereas a focal point needs the artwork and the decision of the artist to exist. For example, the eyes are a strong point of interest in any portrait, because the eyes are the first thing that we consider when we look at each other or interact with each other. But most parts of the face are also very strong points of interest. A focal point on the drawing is created by the decision of the artist to articulate the lines and values a certain way in order to bring focus onto a specific part of the artwork. It is similar in a way to the focal point a photographer can get with a camera. If your focal point is the same as your point of interest, you'll have no problem leading the viewer's eyes where you want it. In the case of the drawings that I'm doing for this demonstration, the focal point is on the eyes, so it's pretty easy. But there are some rules that can help you bring focus on any part of the drawing, whether it is a point of interest or not. In general, the part of a drawing where the lightest light and the darkest dark meet becomes a focal point.
In other words,
It's also a good idea to make the edges sharper on the focal points and leave the rest hazy or unfinished. Alright, that's it for this video. Of course, there's a lot more to drawing than what I just mentioned in this video. It takes a lot of time to reach excellence, and knowing a couple of principles is not enough. It requires a lot of time and hard work, but I'm sure you'll get it. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and watch the rest of my videos. If you're interested in all...
Okay, anybody got any comments?
Looked like to me he made it a lot more difficult to understand. With all the lines going all over the place.
Oh, okay. Well, okay, let's go back and take a look. So you're saying, let's see. So you're saying it was more confusing to you to find those sort of abstract shapes?
Yes, because if you're doing a portrait, you want to like do, for instance, maybe I work at it wrong, but it's easier for me to make the shape of the face and to figure out approximately whether they're above my head or below my head or equal in front of me, and find approximately where the eyes, you know, divide the eyes in the middle and then the next middle between the eyes and the mouth for the nose, and so forth to get the placement. And then you look for the shapes. I mean, it's kind of an illogical way to go about it to me.
Well, I think, you know, he's not doing anything that we hadn't talked about. You know, at one point, you know, he began to find these abstract shapes, but, you know, he knew where the anchor points were in the face, which were really right along the front and the center line of the face. And those were the things that, you know, once he got them down, he didn't want to move. And from there, then he started relating to all the different abstract shapes, which wasn't really an eye or anything. It's like this area being in shadow and this area being in light. So
because it's a socket.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's what he's drawing is the socket. But rather than worrying about the shape or the form of the eye or anything at that point, he just found the abstract shape of how much of that is light, how much is shadow. And that's all these outlines are. They're just, you know, sort of ideas as to, okay, the top of the arm, you know, ends here, and the inside of the arm ends here.
Yeah, of course, something like that.
So he's just finding,
So I need to have you
you know, generally where those things are.
You're ready to go.
Right. Now that doesn't mean that as he's beginning to lay in values or whatever, that he can't adjust them. And that's what he was talking about, you know, keeping one part of the drawing, you know, like really right in this area as an anchor point that you're not going to move, and then letting the rest of it be flexible. If he needed to, see, he could have widened out, you know, the head and the neck, you know, and moved all of this either to the left or the right. So, you know, and some of you, you know, this may not make sense to do it this way. And like you said, you know, there's more than one way to get there. So, you know, you're gonna find the way that is comfortable with you. But, you know, maybe, you know, maybe you can see the proportions and the, you know, those distances and things better if you just outline the abstract shapes and you have a good sense of where all those darks and lights are going to go, you know, before you start actually rendering it. Maybe not. You know, everybody's brain works in a little different way. So, you know, I'm not saying that, you know, this is the only way to do it, because it's not. There's many different ways of getting there. But, you know, those 5 principles he brought up, those, you know, those hold true regardless of how you approach it. You know, you still have to find, you know, the overall proportions, and whether you do that with the shape or whether you do it with, you know, like marks, you know, for those distances between the brow ridge, the nose, and the chin, and then do the same thing with the width from cheekbone to cheekbone. You know, whatever works for you is fine. But you know,
Charles, I have a question, please.
Mhm.
On this 5th principle, I'm confused with focal point and point of interest. Could you go over that again, please?
Yeah. What he was, you know, in this particular case, his focal point and the point of interest are the same.
Right, the eyes.
Right. Yeah, because it's human nature. You know, when we look at a face, you know, we don't usually look at people's shoes first, right? You know, normally when we meet someone, the very first thing we look at is their eyes. And then we kind of begin to move around the face and look at the rest of their features, their expression, and then, you know, kind of to their body and what their body language is saying. And so, you know, that's your point of interest, right? So when you meet somebody, you don't really have a focal point, you have a point of interest, and you usually kind of start, you know, up around the head and then kind of move around to what they're wearing and how they're standing and what kind of gestures they're making, or whether they're loud or soft spoken, you know, all those things. So that's your point of interest. You know, when you take, you know, reality out there and you reduce it down to a 2-dimensional surface, like a painting or a drawing, then what you're doing as an artist, you're deciding, you know, regardless of what's going on out there in reality, that this is where I want the viewer to look. And that becomes a focal point.
Okay. So that's the artist's choice.
Mm-hmm.
Reality that the artist makes for the viewer to see is the focal point.
Yeah. Yeah. So let's say that I'm doing a landscape and it doesn't have a human figure in it, right? And so, you know, I want you to go to a particular place in the painting, you know, to a focal point, right? And what I'm doing as I'm painting that landscape is I'm trying to figure out, how am I going to get your eye to go there? You know, what's going to compel you to see it the way I want you to see it, and to get your eye to move across that canvas and around that canvas over and over again, and keep going back to that one particular spot, right? And then starting all over again. And the way that we do that as an artist is we use those 5 types of contrast, right?
Right.
Right. So wherever the greatest contrast is, that becomes the focal point. So it's the lightest light against the lightest dark. It's the sharpest shapes against the softest edges. It, you know, if you're dealing in color, it could be a shift in color from, you know, from like predominantly red painting to maybe a cool area, or a predominantly cool painting to a, you know, warm area, right? So temperature or changing color, and then intensity, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where's the color the most intense? Where is it most muted? Wherever it's more muted, it's going to tend to go back. Wherever it's more intense, it's going to tend to come forward, right? So you see, you as an artist, you have these 5 types of contrast that you can deal with. And if you put them all in one particular area of the painting where it all comes together, then when the viewer looks at it, that's where their eye goes.
Right.
Okay.
So it's where the artist chooses the viewer's eye to go first.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, one of the first questions you ask when you start doing the painting is, all right, what's the important part of the painting? What do I want the, the viewer who's looking at this painting, what do I want to see? Okay. And then you're working to, get to that. Yeah.
Charles, I got to go.
You got to go?
I got to go.
Oh, I'm sorry. Where are you going?
Got a doctor's appointment.
Okay. Well, say hi to the doctor. You better be nice to you, okay? So you take care. All right. So any more questions about that? Okay. All right. So let's take a look at some of the stuff. Oh, that's right. I need to go check and see if Jackie's email came in. So let me do that real quick. Maybe we've had some success there. That would be nice, wouldn't it? Okay.
I did see in one area, one place, a screen popped up where it was large or small pictures. So I put it on small. Maybe if that was a problem, just were too big.
Yeah, maybe not. Let's see. Oh, okay, there we go. My internet is still really slow.
Don't worry about it today. I'll wait till my daughter comes over the weekend and get her to help me.
Yeah, let's see what we got here.
Your name was spelled correct.
Oh, it was spelled correctly?
Oh. My email.
Okay. Well, then, I don't know. I'm not seeing anything new.
Okay. You don't even see those two little chipmunks that I drew?
No, I don't.
Okay.
Huh. Okay. Let me do this. Lattimore. Jacqueline. Okay. We'll get this straightened out. It's not a problem. Okay. I'm going to send you an email.
I've been definitely getting your emails.
Okay. So what I'm, okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to send this email to you, okay? And I want you to see if you get it. I just sent it. And then what I want you to do is I want you to reply. But when you reply, I want, don't attach everything to it, but just attach like one picture to it, okay?
Oh, okay.
And then send it back and see if we get it that way, okay?
Okay.
Okay. So we'll try that, and see if that works out. All right. In the meantime, while you're finding the email, things like that, and responding to it, we will look at some of the artwork that you guys sent in. Oh, wait a minute. Before we do that, I wanted to, there is a show that people can submit drawings to. Ready to go? Yes. Okay. Yes. It's called Drawn to Macon, #4, right? And that's in Macon, Georgia. And so the Arts Alliance in Macon is having a drawing show. And they are basically taking submissions. And what they're looking for is they're looking for people doing interesting and experimental things with drawings, right? It could be three-dimensional, it could be two-dimensional, any kind of drawing. So like, for example, one of the reasons I thought about this was Lady, and she's working on, putting, she's using paint in some instances, but, it's kind of like she's taking patterns and, collages and stuff and wrapping it on these three-dimensional shapes, right? But, you can do sort of traditional drawings, all kinds of things. And let's see. So it's got to be 2D artwork, can be up to 60 by 72 inches. That's pretty good size, right? That's like almost like 5 feet by 6 feet. 3D work can be 16 by 16 inches, or it has to fit on a 16 by 16 pedestal, the base, right? They want you to send a short bio. You can either deliver the work by hand or you can ship it. Let's see, what else? The money is pretty good. You can win $500 for first place, $350 for second, and $150 for third, right? And the cost to submit up to 3 pieces of work is $25, right? Which is not bad, really. Let's see, what else can I tell you about it? You have to be older than 18 years old.
I don't qualify.
Yeah, you don't? Okay.
Oh.
Yeah. Now we're not talking about mental state. We're talking about physical. Okay.
So,
Yes?
Charlie, I have a question. If you submitted a painting to them by mail, how would you be sure that they looked at it?
You don't submit it by mail. You submit it by email.
Oh.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, they, I think somewhere in here they had an email address.
It's stated there. You can shipping the work with postage prepaid.
Well, now that's shipping. Yes. That's if you want them to ship your, rather than you going down and picking your artwork up, if you want them to, repackage it and put it in the mail, then you have to prepay the postage, on the way back. Okay?
So you email the submission by email, and then if they accept it,
Then you deliver it.
You deliver it by person.
Well, you can either deliver it by person or you can ship it to them.
Okay.
Let's say that you don't want to take the 1.5 or 2 hour drive down to Macon, right? Then you can, send it FedEx or UPS or US Postal Service or however you want to ship it. Okay. Now if you've got a really, let's say that you have a 60-inch by, 72-inch, framed piece that probably weighs a little bit. And if you tried to send that UPS or FedEx or something like that, that's a lot of money. It might be cheaper to put it in the back of your SUV, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Don't worry, I don't have anything that big.
Okay, right. Yeah. So, I mean, that's something you could consider, well, I don't want to submit this piece because shipping would be too much for it.
Right.
But maybe I've got something that's like 11 by 14 that's already framed, or a couple of pieces that, are that size that I could put in a box and ship down there for less than $20. See? So yeah, these are all things you can think about and solve before you even submit stuff. I was looking for the dates. Somewhere on here they had the dates to submit.
Deadline is April 23rd.
Yeah, okay. Well, okay. Yeah, it's the 23rd is cut off. It actually opened up yesterday. Okay. So I thought that was kind of interesting since we had a drawing class. Here's an opportunity, for you to submit some drawings. Okay. Because they don't want paintings. Okay. They want drawings. Okay. And so I'll send out an email this attached, and that way you'll have the phone number, the website, and all the stuff that you know, if you guys want to, you know, do something like that, I would encourage you to participate. Okay.
Just curious. I wonder if scratchboard would qualify, because you do draw with a knife, basically.
Yeah, I mean, I think that scratchboard would fall under, you know, drawing. Yeah. Now, if
all I could do is say no, right?
Right. Well, and here's the thing, you know, before you submit the work, you know, there's a phone number right here. You just call, or you send a, let's see, you go to the website. I'm sure they've got a contact. You know, you could send them an email and just say,
right,
you know, I'm an artist up in Atlanta. I'd be interested in submitting, but what I do is scratchboard. Do you consider that a drawing medium, or, you know, or would it qualify for this show?
Yeah, I could do that. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. So yeah, anytime you have questions, you know, and you're not quite sure, well, does this kind of fit? You know, it's always worth a phone call. Okay. You can always have a conversation with somebody. Anyway, like I said, later today, I'll send that out via email to everybody. Okay.
Thank you.
Jackie.
Yeah. Charles, can you send it to me one more time? I think I hit the wrong thing.
You think you hit the wrong thing? Did you get the one from me?
Yeah, I got it. And then I put got it. I clicked got it, and I couldn't do anything else.
Did you hit send?
Yeah, did you send it back to me?
Nope.
You didn't reply?
I didn't send it back because I had got it to let you know I had gotten it, but I should have just attached my file.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right. Well, I'm not seeing anything from, you know, any kind of reply back from you or anything.
No, because you know where they're going to. It says I have 19 in my outbox.
Oh, okay. So yeah, your emails are not going out for some reason.
They're not going out. Mm-mm.
Oh, well, that makes
19 of them.
Okay. So now you know where they are.
At least I know where they are. Yeah.
Right. And so now all you have to do is clear up whatever problem you have with your internet.
I'll work on it. Thank you, though.
So that
I'll work on it this weekend.
Yeah. So that way by Monday I'll have like 19 emails in my inbox. By you.
Yeah.
Just little old you. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Anyway. Okay. So see, we're kind of solving the mystery little by little, right? Okay. So let's go back and let's take a look and see what people sent. Okay. We got some interesting things to talk about. Always fun. So this is Avatal.
Wow.
No, this is not Avatal, but this is Avatal.
You know that, Charles.
Yeah, let's say that the right way. Okay. You know, this is Avatal on a bad night. Okay. No. This is Avatal's drawing. And Avatal, you here?
Yes.
Yeah, I thought I saw you here. Okay. So in looking at this, you know, you're beginning to build up a little bit of color and stuff in there. And you see this is really kind of beginning to take on some dimension and some form, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. See? Little at a time. Little at a time. But you really have to be very conscientious about those values, right?
Yes.
Yeah, not so much the
Very
color.
difficult.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, not so much the color, but the value. Okay. Now, one thing I'd like to make a comment about, and that is, you know, in around the eyes, you've got an awful lot of this red in here. Okay. You've also got it in around your nose and going down into his beard a little bit. And as a transitional color and value, as it's turning across the cheekbone, it works pretty well there, okay? But then when you get to the eye, it's very, very intense. And if I squint my eye down, it's also very dark, right?
Yes.
Okay, you know, I mean, forget about the color, but just the value of it. So my thinking is, okay, not up in the upper eyelid or between the eyebrow, okay, but down here on the bottom, you know, I think the value overall could be a little bit lighter. Okay. Now here's your actual reference, and you sent it as a tiny little postage stamp. Okay. Now when I squint my eye down, okay, and I'm looking at the image, right? The things that strike me the most is that, you know, I could almost divide his face up into two triangles, right? Starting up here on his forehead, if I come kind of straight across,
Yeah.
then up and over.
I see.
This is a light triangle. Okay. And then from that very same point down this way is a dark triangle. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So what you got is you got a division of where the light values and the dark values are. Right. And again, while I'm squinting my eye, it's like the corner of this eye and underneath, you know, the values get dark, but they're not nearly as dark as, say, here in this eye socket, which is, not only, you know, it's not that they're both in shadow, it's that this shadow is actually much darker in value than this. Okay?
Yeah.
All right. So you see, you could lighten up some of the value, you know, particularly in this eye, right? I think your value is dark enough and strong enough, you know, like in and around his nostrils. But the values overall down below the edge of his nose, they all get fairly dark, and they stay pretty dark except for a few little spots like in and around the mouth and the chin maybe a little bit. And then of course the side of the hand has got a lot more light, and then the back side or the top of the hand is falling into pretty deep shadow there.
Yeah.
Right. And then the same thing with the hair. See, the hair is quite dark, but everything from the hairline down to the eyebrow is, you know, a lighter value. Okay. Now it's not light, right? The only real light in this whole image is really like right here on, you know, the top plane of the nose, across his cheekbones, you know, really on both sides. It's brighter on the right than it is on the left.
Yes.
And right here above the eyebrow and a little touch right above the eye. You know, those are the only real strong lights in there.
Yes.
Everything else is a little more subdued, you know, including, well, you know, the bottom part of the hand is pretty bright, but as you move up the fingers, what happens?
It darkens.
Yeah, see, it gets slightly darker. So again, you know, there's a little more variation in value than what you've got so far. Okay?
Yeah.
And so, you know, it's a matter of noticing those subtleties, and when you're laying down your color and your value, you know, kind of staying true to that. Okay?
Yeah. When I say it's difficult, it's simply once you put one color, it does not allow that whatever it's made of, it doesn't allow me to paint over it. So, and I worked mainly from last week to this week, I worked on the cheek, on his left cheek.
Right.
Right for the viewer. I never even, and I erased the eye, his left eye, and try to, but it's not the right proportion, it's not the right angle. So I decided, well, let me concentrate on the nose as we discussed last week. I actually used chalk because nothing else will stick. So, so that's created a problem, a technical problem.
Yeah, I mean, you should be able to go over the darker colors of that pencil and build up, you know, more of that same media on top of it, you know, or at least blend it into it and fade it back slowly. What now you're using color pencils. Who are they made by?
Oh, the assortments from years and years. I some of them do have names, but it's not one maker. And I frankly, I think the quality is not that good. It makes it hard work. I cannot execute what I want to do.
Yeah, the thing with color pencils, you know, and color pencil is a great medium to work in. Okay, I don't have anything against color pencils, but some brands, okay, some brands are very, very hard, and they don't really leave a lot of color down on the paper. You really have to work at them. There are other brands like Prismacolor that are wonderful. I mean, it's like, in some ways, it's almost like working with pastels, because you can layer the color, and you can actually get a lot of layers of different colors and things, you know, down on the paper before it starts getting to the point where it's so slick that you can't leave any more. You know, and another issue may be the paper, you know.
Yeah.
You know, certain papers have more tooth than others, and if what you're drawing on is what I think you are, which is kind of a Reeves BFK that's black, then more than likely, you know, you've just kind of reached the saturation point, you know, of that paper, and you might not be able to get more on it.
Yeah.
You know, Reeves BFK is a very, very soft paper, and it's generally very porous, but you do, you know, with colored pencil in particular, you will hit a point where you just can't get any more to stick on it because you've gone over it so many times that it's become slick, and you know, you've gotten rid of any tooth that the paper had. Now, there's ways of getting around that, which is as you're building up the color, don't press hard. You know, just keep building up the color slowly, and it will take a little bit of time, but you'll keep that grain and that tooth open, so you can keep putting more and more color on. As soon as you start bearing down and rubbing, you know, or pressing real hard on that pencil, what you're doing is you're compressing the paper and you know, basically eliminating the tooth of the paper, so you can't get any more Prismacolor pencil to stick to it after a while.
Yeah, makes sense.
So pressure can work for you, and it can work against you. Okay.
Thank you very much.
So yeah, just be careful with that. All right. Let's see. Is Bernice here? Bernice Washington, where are you?
I think she's probably celebrating Easter.
Okay, maybe. I don't know. Okay. Well, she sent in, this is a painting that she did, and I think she did it off of a card or something. This the reference, I think. So, you know, she's kind of in this mode of, you know, copying, you know, different cards and images and stuff, which is fine. I thought this was really pretty interesting. So, you know, she's doing a little bit of collage. You know, she's got some fabric that she's fashioned into these robes. She's got a little cross up here. She's got two figures, and they each are wearing crowns. One like a queen, one like a king, and evidently there's a congregation or something back here as well. So it's an interesting. And I wish she was here to tell us about it, but maybe we'll hear more about it on Monday. Okay?
I hope so. That's cool.
Yeah, because she's all, this is a close-up. So she's going back in the background and putting in a painted background to kind of create a context for these
Charles,
three-dimensional figures. Yes.
I know a little bit about it. That is her sister that passed on, and that is her sister in heaven receiving a crown from Jesus.
Right.
And those are angels in the background.
Okay. All right. So you got a little bit of the story on it. And it looks like she used some kind of like gold metallic paint here, in the background. And then I don't know whether she's finished with the scene or whatever back here. But like I said, hopefully we'll get to talk to her about it on Monday. And she can tell us more about it. But this is it's an interesting piece because it's a collage and it's kind of almost like a diorama. It's kind of three-dimensional. So she's got it in a shadow box and you can see the depth. So she's got a shadow box that's a couple of inches deep. And, she's got her figures and things in there.
That's really cool.
Yeah, it is. It's an interesting idea. This is from Betty Bates, and Betty had sent this in before, but we looked at some drawings this morning. I'm trying to remember. I want to say it was Jackie Woodward, and she was doing a coyote, and this is Betty's drawing of German Shepherd. It's it's a really, really beautiful, sensitive drawing, of this dog. Now, Betty, are you here?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So tell us a little bit about this. Who's the dog, and what inspired you to draw this?
Well, it's my grandson's dog, and that's his pride and joy. So he asked me if I would do a drawing of it. So I did it, and he now has the drawing. So it's kind of a no-fee commission, but he was very happy with it.
Yeah, it's a commission on a family discount.
Yes, exactly.
Right. I wouldn't know anything about those.
Yeah, the dog is named Nico.
Okay. Now, is this a fairly young dog?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, because it looks like the dog hadn't quite grown into his ears yet,
Right, exactly.
Yeah, and the thing with German Shepherds, normally when you see them, they've, done what they call dock the ears, right, which make the ears smaller. But by, nature, German Shepherds generally have really pretty good sized ears. And so you've got a young dog here, and they haven't, docked his ears yet. And but it really is. It's a beautiful little drawing.
Yes, cute. He's cute.
Yeah. You get a little of his personality. He looks a little introspective there. He's definitely thinking about something. He's almost kind of mournful. Kind of like, where's my buddy? I want to go play, or something like that.
Yeah, he's very active.
Yeah, so you can read a lot of things into the drawing emotionally, but it's a very nice, strong drawing on that. And this is charcoal, right?
It's graphite.
Graphite. Okay. All right. Yeah.
You got good darks in the graphite, and I like the way you did the vignette sort of rendition of him, like that.
Yeah, it just kind of, the drawing kind of fades into like some suggested line work, and then it disappears. But it's enough, it's enough to tell you, okay, the dog continues, and that's all you really got to say with it. And then you have this piece. Now, this was, I want to say that her name was Tamika. I remember when she came to model for us at Benson, and this. Beautiful, African American girl. Really, really unusual, beautiful face and hair. And
yeah, that was I believe it was a 5 or maybe 10-minute gesture drawing. So it certainly has things that aren't right with it, but I kind of like the way it came out. It made me think of the one drawing we saw this morning that used the charcoal and used the side of it and that kind of thing. That's basically what I did with the hair on it.
Right. Yeah. Basil Watson's drawing. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very similar. And the model is actually kind of similar, you know, in many ways, you know, hairstyle and, you know, just about the same age and, you know, similar features. But again, you know, it's really nice drawing. It's, you know, as you said, it's not photographically representational, but, you know, for, you know, a drawing of any time, regardless, you know, you still have a good sense of, you know, when I look at this, I recognize who it was. And you got a little bit of her in there, you know, kind of the feeling of her, I should say. And yeah, it's a really nice drawing. So
her eyes are like you were talking about this morning. They are not
yeah, they're not quite sinking in, you know, in structure. You know, they're getting close, but they're not quite there yet.
They're not, they're supposed to be sunken in more?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah. So yeah, you know, like finding, you know, and it's a 5-minute drawing, so we don't have a photograph that we can't go back and really check the reference. But probably like the corner of the inside of this eye or the inside of this eye, probably not both, you know, might have been a little bit dark. And that would have helped make that fear of the eye feel
that ball you were talking about this morning.
Yeah, just getting, you know, showing that more clearly in here. And it's probably, if I had to make a guess, it's probably in this eye. You know, that's just right on the inside here. Just be a little bit darker. And you just adding a little bit stronger dark in there would be enough to tell you that, oh, okay, there's actually kind of this round shape. She's got all the values, you know, over here on the left side of the eye. So it goes from a light area and moves back into a value that's slightly darker, still moving that plane backward. And then it hits this lighter area, which begins to pull the eye forward, right? And then you move across, you know, the opening of the eye to the lower lid, and she's got a little bit of a highlight along here. And then it moves back into another value. And that kind of completes it being round this way, right? And that part works really pretty well. Where it doesn't do quite the same thing is moving from this corner to this corner. And again, you know, just pushing the value down on the inside corner would tell you or help you see that that's actually a round 3-dimensional form there of an actual ball sitting in that eye socket. So again, you know, it's those little things, but those little things make all the difference in the world. And really what it all comes down to is knowing what to look for, right? When you're actually seeing a figure up there. Or when you're looking at a photograph, it's, you know, looking for the right things and putting those down and leaving out all of the other unimportant kind of extraneous information. And so that just takes time, you know, in lots of drawings, and you begin to figure out, you know, what you need to put in, what you need to leave out. Okay. Anybody got any other comments about that? All right, we got, actually I want to start here. Bob sent in this photo of this young lady. And Bob?
Sir.
Who is this?
This is a friend of mine. We dated for a little while. and I found she was a whole much better than I was, so you know that stopped. But anyway, she's a friend of mine. We saw each other for a year or so, and nice lady, very very.
Well, you got a nice photo of her. Okay.
Yes, yeah. It took a while to find that one, but yeah, it's pretty good for rendition purposes.
Yeah, yeah. The reference itself, and since we got this up, let's go ahead and talk about it. If you're going to find reference to draw from, this is kind of what you're looking for. If you're doing a face, one, the image is big enough, in the scale of the photo, that you get enough information and detail, and the thing is, again, you got to go back to what it is that you're going to put in, what it is that you're going to leave out. Okay. And there's definitely some things to leave out in this drawing. There's definitely things to put in. But in picking this as an image to work with, if you look at this, the first impression that you get is that her face is got a kind of a nice curve to it, from the cheekbone on this side all the way across to the cheekbone on this side. And you see both. So you get a fairly distinct division between what's on the side plane, really, and then what's on the front plane, really, from this point across to here, back to where it begins to go backward, and that's the side plane again, right across here. Okay. So, looking at this and understanding, those changes in directions of those planes, and then drawing them that way, it's kind of important. The same thing with the nose. If you look at the top plane of her nose, which is really here, right? You can see that part of it, mainly the side on the left, is catching more light than the side on the right, okay? And again, this is the top plane of the nose only, right? So really from this edge right here to this edge. And you see the value has to change across it. It can't be one flat value. It's gotta make a change from the lightest light over here on the left side over to where the strong foreshadow runs, which is right up here along the side of the nose. Okay. So just looking at that, figuring, the value structure out, and then drawing. And if you had a good sense of the value structure and you got that on the paper, then you would get a very similar effect. And what you've got here now doesn't quite do that. Okay. And so my recommendation would be, push the value, in this area along the cheekbone and this side of the face, push that down a little bit darker. And the key is a little bit darker, okay? The same thing with the bridge of the nose here. There's a little more value, on this side of the nose, because really the lightest part is really right along the left-hand side of it here. And then once it gets across the peak, where did it go? Yeah. The peak of the nose, which is really right about in here, and starts going downward. Then it starts getting a little bit darker, and then it falls into kind of like a foreshadow over there. And so just looking at those values and, pushing the value down, like right along this core shadow line here, darkening up this side of the nostril, and then the underside nostril here and here. And notice that the one on the right is darker, the one on the left is just a little bit warmer and a little bit lighter. So again, keeping that in mind and really looking at the value and not making them equal. You clearly see a good strong orbit of the mouth on her. And the thing is, her cheekbones and her jawline, all seem to come forward, on the front plane, and the corners of the mouth sink back in. So you really got to think about that as being a ball that mouth is sitting on. And, you're getting there, but you're not quite there yet, okay, in your drawing. So you got some tweaking to do.
Well, I can't. I gave it to her, and then she left me. So there you go.
Oh,
no.
That hurt.
I guess you didn't like it either.
I guess.
Well, she didn't return the drawing, so she must have liked it somewhat.
There you go.
Yeah. I don't know. She may have returned it in my trash can. I just didn't know about it. That's all.
Maybe yeah.
Robert, what medium are you using?
This is all graphite.
Mm-hmm.
All graphite?
All graphite. Yeah.
Even the white?
I'm sorry.
Even the white highlight?
The white is the paper.
Yeah, the paper, it's been erased, pulled out.
Oh, I see now. Thank you.
Okay, so Bob, I've got some advice for you here. Okay.
Okay. All right. I'm listening.
If you were going to do something like this again, or even this again, okay, and you were doing a lady of a certain age, okay, one thing you could eliminate is a lot of the extraneous wrinkles.
Yep.
Okay. The same thing with kind of the smile lines and things. Just an indication that they're there is enough. You don't really have to overemphasize it. If you do, generally that's going to make her look much older than she probably is, and she's not going to like it. Okay.
There you go. Now I know.
Yeah. The other thing is, your general contrast. Your contrast across the face overall isn't strong enough. By darkening the value in here along the bridge of that nose, that would have pushed the nose forward, right, and let the rest of the front plane sink back a little bit. And then I think your value on your side planes, like right here, could be overall just a little bit darker. And again, that would help it kind of move across the front plane of the face. And then when it gets to this point, turn and move backward. So, and that's what you want it to do. You see, from this point back, you want it to move back, rather than kind of be on the same plane. Yeah, so it's mainly, just bumping up the contrast a little bit more overall in her face. And then really pushing, and I mean really pushing, the area along her cheekbones quite a bit darker. The reason being that, you get some really strong darks in here.
Right.
And you could really push those. And again, the darker you get those, the more it's going to help push that face and make it look curved and round. Okay? It's just, you don't have enough contrast there yet. Okay?
Okay.
So yeah, like I said, if you were so inclined and you wanted to do another drawing like that, whether it's her face or somebody else's face, the main thing is, push the values a little bit. Okay.
It's hard to find snapshots of people with that much darks and lights contrast.
Mm-hmm.
It really is.
Yeah. And this was shot outdoors in natural light, and
yes,
yeah, it's it's good, it's good like for giving you contrast, and yet it's soft enough that, it doesn't look harsh, and that's a problem with trying to light somebody is, if you use artificial light like flash, it either like totally blows them out and flattens it out, and or
Right.
use such strong light and shadows that, it looks very graphic. And it's hard to find a photo kind of in that right range. But this, you've got one right here. I mean, it's a
Yep.
practice on. Okay.
Thank you.
All right. John?
Yes.
Okay. So basically, everything I've talked about so far applies here, even though this is in color. It's a matter of value. And it's also, though, a matter of trying to get these eyes to feel like they're actually round and to being inside the eye socket. And they don't quite do that yet. Okay?
Right.
The inside corner, I think you're okay on. It's the outside corner right here that doesn't seem to.
I noticed that after I sent it.
Yeah.
Looking at it, I really didn't notice it, but after I did the picture and sent it, I thought, yeah, that needs some work.
Yeah, that, the bottom plane of the nose and the nostrils, because the nostrils feel like they're coming straight out at us, and rather than kind of following or conforming to the shape of the bottom plane of the nose, okay? And then, of course, the contrast between the actual skin and the hair. And, overall, I think your skin tones are fine. You mainly just, need a little more contrast. And, you need to check your proportions, because it's like the bottom part of the face just doesn't seem like it's got enough weight in it, or it's missing something. So, going back and really looking at the reference and checking.
Well, there is no reference. That is just out of my head.
Okay. So, yeah. So again, you're trying to paint something that you think you know.
Correct.
And so this is a lesson in how much you don't know.
There you go.
Yeah. And that's fair. Doing things like that is kind of a good test, and seeing if it turns out, whether you can make it a little credible. So I guess my question to you is this, when you did this feel right to you, or did you think that things were maybe a little out of proportion or off?
Well, I knew things were a little bit out of proportion. I actually liked the colors I use. They don't look quite as intense on this picture, but I've got every color in the book in here: greens, reds, blues, yellows, and the fact that I did it, like you say, what I thought I knew. So I was actually, from that standpoint, sort of pleased that I did as well as I did.
Yeah. I mean, it's a interesting little painting, and I mean, interesting in a good way. I mean, you definitely get kind of a mood or a sense of, who this guy kind of is. But again, this is probably one of those, it's like, okay, you made like a good effort at it. Now take this and set it up somewhere and try to redraw it and, get more information and, do some general corrections to it. Make it feel better, make it feel more credible. Okay?
Yep.
Yeah, try it. You might like it.
Yeah. As you know, I don't do much in portraits or still lifes. It was something different for me to do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, and the thing is, so, you know, the more of these you do, the more confident you'll get about them, and you'll know also, you know, what you have to look for and kind of the general tendency that you have when drawing a face and what you get off at. Because, you know, pretty much so, you know, you can count on, you know, sort of repeating those same mistakes over and over and over again.
Right.
And sometimes it takes you a long time to actually see that something is off. And then it's like, oh, okay. And then you go back and you look at almost every face you've done. That, and they'll all have that.
Well, I knew that one side of the eye was off, and now the ears are too small, and I had trouble with the nostrils. So that much I was aware of.
Okay. All right. So you know, as a suggestion, you know, you know, maybe take another stab at it, you know, try it. The other thing is this would be a good one for you to begin to develop, but rather than drawing and then painting over the drawing, you know, use that idea, you know, that we talked about.
I didn't draw this. I just I use a watercolor pencil just to get the oval of the head and mark the center line and the eyes, nose, and mouth line. That's all the drawing it was done. It was all just painted otherwise.
Oh, okay. All right. So this isn't pencil or anything down here?
No, nothing. It's all just to paint the watercolor.
Okay. All right. Yeah, because it looked it appeared to me as though, yeah, you kind of drawn it out.
Yeah. No, I did not. It was not and that. And again, that's a deviation from what I do. So it was not drawn out either.
Okay. All right. Well, keep practicing with that, and like I said, you know, maybe use that like yellow, just a washy, you know, kind of pale version of a yellow, to, you know, begin to set up your composition and figure out your distances and things like that.
Right.
You know, and do a couple of these, you know, and you don't have to do his face over and over again. And I'm saying do a couple of watercolors that way until you begin to get a little more comfortable with working that and see what kind of results you get. Okay?
But I didn't even know if it was a his or a her or what it was. It was sort of a face.
Yeah. I would have guessed guy, you know.
Yeah.
But hey, could be, like you said, either. Okay? Either male or female. All right. We got your rainstorm.
Yes. I did as you suggested. I used the white watercolor pencil.
Mm-hmm. And what do you think now?
I sort of like it.
Yeah, I think it worked out really well. So so you got that effect of a really hard rain. You've got, you know, the distance, the atmosphere there, and overall, yeah, I mean, I think you got a nice painting going on there. I mean, it certainly gets the effect that you wanted, which was, you know, the idea of the raindrops coming down on it, and so it worked really well. Okay.
And that was another one that I did not draw.
Okay. Yeah. So you see, that might actually be working out for you, right?
Yes. Right.
Just keep at it. Okay.
That's really beautiful. Yeah.
Rainstorm. Yeah, that was a nice.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. So this is June. Okay. And so June did this drawing. Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. So basically the same kind of thing. Now you do have a little indication of the side plane of the face here. You kind of lose it under the hand here. That's not totally unexpected. You know, and you've got a little bit on the forehead there. So it's just enough to tell you that this is not a flat surface, that it is actually, there's a front plane, then it starts moving backward. And all of that is working fairly well for you. Now, the thing that seems to be a little bit kind of off on this particular drawing is your alignment of stuff. It's kind of like the center line of the face doesn't quite line up, you know, with all the features, right? And it should. So like from the bottom of the nose to that little crown here at the top of the lip to the lowest point of the chin should all kind of fall in line. And see, yours has got the bottom of the chin way over here, and it could be moved to about right there.
Okay. Yeah, I got it. Yeah, I see it.
Yeah. So, you know, just getting those things to line up would help a little bit. Okay.
Okay.
Now with your eyes, you know, you got the curve up here, kind of nice, and you know, you're beginning to get some of a suggestion of the structure of the eye. The thing is, don't forget about what happens from the eyelid to the eyebrow. And somewhere in here, you're going to see sort of the origin of the eye, and you don't quite see it yet.
Okay.
So just look for those little things. Okay. We've got. Okay. We've got this lady right here. Now, this is not a self-portrait, right?
No, this is my friend. She just sit beside me.
Oh, okay.
We listen to the Bible, so he just sit beside me. I I draw.
All right. Well, it's a nice pen sketch. The only thing that feels a little bit off here is, well, there's about three things I want to say about this. One, you would probably see a bit of the eyebrow on the other side of the head, but not this much.
Not this much. Yes, I got it. I said, what is that?
Yeah, and then if you're seeing this one that clearly, then the one on this side, which is closer to you, you even more clearly. Okay.
Okay.
So that's one thing that kind of throws it off. The other thing is, you know, as you're laying down these lines to kind of create values and follow, well, and to kind of describe the form, then you really kind of need to follow the shape or the form, you know, and move kind of up and around over here, you know, in the shadow side of the side plane of the face. So, you know, finding that curve and that direction could kind of reinforce that idea a lot better than what you got there, because you've just kind of put everything at a diagonal, and not everything sits at that angle. Okay. And particularly the planes of the face. See, because what you got to do is you've got to convince us that from this front plane moving across to the outside, that somewhere in here, that this surface doesn't just end into like a mud puddle, you know, but that it actually comes and it transitions, and that this part right in here is actually a curve right across that core shadow, and that, you know, this plane moves from this front plane to the side plane, where it turns and it moves back kind of abruptly. And so laying those lines down, following the form, will help you do that. Okay?
Okay. Thank you.
And then we have your version of Sherry McGraw's drawing. Okay. And so, okay, you know, you got the general idea. The thing is, you did two things that you could have done better. One is you straightened her up, okay? And what I mean is, see, this lady looks like she's standing up, right? Very, very vertically, like she's really kind of, almost like at attention, right? And that's not what the model was doing in Sherry's drawing. She was really at this very strong kind of diagonal angle, and you don't have that. And the other thing that, and I talked about it this morning, was varying. Let me see, where'd my cursor go? Here it is. Varying these outlines, like right here and right here, making them different. Okay, and we don't want to make them the same. We want to make them different.
Different. Okay. Yeah.
From one another. And here you see the thickness and the darkness of the line is about equal. Okay. So,
okay.
Here's Sherry's drawing, and she kind of gets away with this, even though the outlines are kind of equal. She kind of gets away with it here because of the shadow, on the body and the surface, and the direction that surface is moving in. Kind of helps you see that because she's changed the value between the plane that's lit up and then the plane that's falling away into shadow. All right. Now, the problems with this was that each of these lines, the line work is kind of monotonous because it's kind of the same everywhere, right? And what I was suggesting is that people, when they draw it, that they vary that line weight, okay? Can you see the difference in the two drawings?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. So really, on the shadow side, see, we've got a much heavier statement, right? Much more direct, much heavier. On the light side, see, softer, right? And that tells you that this is not flat, that this, in fact, is doing this. It's a rounded barrel shape, kind of rib cage, right? And the same thing here in the arm, again, you vary that line weight. And again, it tells you that arm is, that the surface is changing directions. See, this is moving into shadow, this is moving toward the light. Okay, does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, all right.
Thank you.
So yeah, I just want you to kind of pay attention to those things. And particularly if you're going to try to copy somebody's drawing, you can see what they did. Take a little more time and really kind of think about, okay, if I'm going to redraw this, how am I going to make it better? Not just copy it, but how am I going to make it better? How am I going to explain to the next person who sees the drawing that I did, what it was that I was trying to say, and how, if it's a model or a portrait or something like that, convey some sense of movement and weight and life to it, okay?
Okay.
All right. And then last but not least, I'm going to show you guys this. This is something I've been working on. I think it was Monday. I told you Naomi had given me about 20 or 30 old canvases that her neighbor had, or one of her neighbors, somebody in the neighborhood, had been painting on, and then just threw them out.
Oh, word.
Pardon?
I said, wow.
Yeah. Anyway, so I took a little bit of time, a little bit of sandpaper and stuff, sanded some of them down, and reprimed them out. And while I was doing that, and I was just putting some random colors down, I didn't really have anything particularly in mind, but I began to see these clouds kind of emerge, and then after that I wanted to add a bit of a landscape, so I did. And then I got caught up into this house that I bought over in Valley, and kind of the changes and stuff I want to make with it. So this is a little little more refined version of my ideas of what I want that house ending up looking like, with some of the changes and things put into it. And, you know, and kind of put it in the context of the landscape of the neighborhood. And so, you know, at this point, about the only thing really close to finished is the house and the clouds. And I'm just beginning to develop the landscape and the trees and things around it. And speaking of trees, you see I'm laying them in as a simple shape, and then I'm breaking up the value. Again, notice the transition here. So it goes from a light into a core shadow because it's not a flat tree, and into, you know, the back side of the shadow side of the tree. And I haven't put any kind of reflected light or anything in here, but I'll probably put some kind of cooler temperature in here. Again, to, you know, make that really feel like it's got some volume and that it's round, you know, and you know, moving in a kind of a cylindrical way. Does that make any sense?
Yes.
Yeah, that's beautiful. You see the next tree, the light is shining on that tree.
Mm-hmm.
On
Yeah.
the right. So if you put, you're not going to make it light darker than this tree on this side, right? Darker than the second tree.
You mean this one right here?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, if you look at them right now, they're
yeah,
about equal. Okay. And the fact is, I'll probably, as I put that reflected light, I'll probably begin to gray down the color in this a little bit to push it a little further back and let this one stay forward because it's closer to you.
uh-huh.
See?
Okay.
Right now, you know, they're kind of the same. Go the other way. Yeah. Now, I can't tell you how much fun I had, you know, painting that house.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, it was kind of fun. I like doing architectural things. You know, I've got a few little things to tweak, like in looking at the perspective lines here. I've dropped that roof a little too far, and I need to bring it up just a little bit, and I mean a very little bit. You know, just to kind of, you know, soften that angle just a little, and then it will kind of feel about right. Right now, it's feeling a little bit forced. So, you know, it's just like a width of a brush, you know. And again, you know, sometimes little things like that make a huge difference. Okay.
How far along is the actual renovation?
Pardon?
How far along are you on the actual work?
Not very far.
No.
Not very far. No, I've started in on the inside of the house, and what I've done so far is I've taken, well, it would be the room, this front room right here. This used to be the front of the house. Now it's going to be the back, and this is becoming the front. But this room right here, what I've done is I've basically stripped it down to the studs in this room, and I've started taking down the fire stack that was buried in the wall and taking the bricks out and, you know, moving the bricks out of the house, you know, back, so that I'm going to try to reuse as many of them as I can to build this porch area right here.
Oh, that's cool. Recycling.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's the same brick that's already in the foundation. And so I don't want to go out and buy brand new brick, you know, and have this, you know, be radically different than what the foundation is. And I don't know that I'll be able to salvage enough of them to complete this, but I'm going to try to use as many as I can. Yeah.
I just realized that the picture that I sent you earlier did not come through. Would you check your email again, please?
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't see anything. Well, let's see. The last thing I got from you, Rebecca. Oh, John. I gotten some things from you a day or two ago.
No, this was day I sent a picture of the head of a child.
Oh, yeah, okay. Yes, you did. You sent it to me, but you sent it to me not via email. You sent it to me via Messenger.
Oh no, I'm sorry.
Which I can get on my phone, but I can't get on my computer. So you.
Okay, well, what did you think?
Well, I wasn't really able to spend a lot of time looking at it.
I see.
But
Okay.
you need to send it to me via my email.
Okay, sorry.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Yeah, I was going to mention that to you. I was like, why did it end up over there? Okay. But all right, now we know.
Okay.
Charles, is there a lake or a river in the back of the house down the hill?
Yeah, actually, the house looks out over. This is the Chattahoochee River.
Oh,
and this is West Point Lake way up here.
Wow.
Now it's hard.
There's a series of hills down your backyard, and those are other people's homes?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, as it goes down the hill into the river valley. Yeah.
How do they access their houses?
Pardon?
How did those houses get access to?
Oh, there's a street. There's a street that runs like right down in here in front.
Okay.
And then there's one that runs down the hill from there as well. Yeah, and I haven't painted in all the roadways and stuff. In fact, I was trying to avoid putting a lot of streets and street signs and telephone poles and all that fun stuff in there. So.
Well, the color you painted the house is beautiful. Are you going to paint it that blue?
Yeah, I am actually, and
that's beautiful.
I've already bought the paint, and right now the house is kind of this. Well, it's almost the color of this piece of paper right here. Okay, and that's what the outside of the house looks like now, and I really don't like that color, and so I already bought the paint, and it's this very, very, very pale turquoise. And I'm also painting the interior of the house a very similar color. So, but it's, it almost looks white, almost, but there's just this little hint, of turquoise in it. And I like the subtlety of it. One of the things with this painting, I mean, I've got to let all of this dry, and then I'm going to try to soften and kind of gray some of the sharpness back on this, because right now, if you look at it, it's a little too sharp. It's a little too harsh in contrast. And so, I'm just going to knock down the contrast on some of the sides and edges and soften it a little bit so it fits into the landscape a little bit better. So.
Charles, it would be nice to display this in your home once it's finished.
Oh, it probably will be.
Nice.
Yeah. See, that way when I get people to come over and work on projects, I can take them to this and go, look, I know what this looks like right now, but this is what I want it to look like.
There you go.
See?
In your mom's side. That's really
It'll give them a visual aid, a guidebook. It's like, can you do this? And they'll go, okay, yeah, I think so.
A picture does tell a lot.
It does. It's worth 1,000 words, right? Mm-hmm. So, in some ways, pictures can sometimes save you thousands of dollars too.
True.
Yeah.
So you can sit on your back porch and see the river, and sit on your front porch and see something else.
Well, yeah, actually I can, most of the property that I have is on this, what is now going to be the front of the house. So I'll actually be looking further up the hill, and I've got some big oak trees and things up there. It's actually a nice piece of land. So, and then of course I've got the porch on the side over here, and this is actually the north facing side of the house. And, you know, I can look through these trees and you can actually see quite a distance, you know, down this hill, you know, in this direction as well. So it's got some good views in it.
So the house on the front side is going to face the east down the hill?
Yes. Well, kind of the way it's angled, it's not directly east-west. It's
Right.
kind of catty corner. And, you know, the house actually kind of points northeast on this end and southwest on this side.
That'll be good for air conditioning.
Yeah, overall, yeah. I mean, the only part that really gets a lot of direct light is the side of the house that's lit up, because that's sort of the south side. And then, you know, in late afternoon, this gets some sunlight up until about maybe like 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock. And then after that, it's all in shade because there's a huge oak tree, you know, back here that, you know, casts a shadow, you know, on that side of the house. And so, you know, the hottest part of the day, you know, the house doesn't really have a lot of direct sunlight on it. So,
That's smart.
so that's, you know, that's the good news. And, you know, I've had the power and air conditioning stuff there, even though the heat and everything's been turned down very low. You know, utility bills on that house, you know, for gas and electric, probably cost me less than like $60 a month right now, running it the way it is. You know, if I'm actually living in it, it's probably going to cost me about $120 a month to heat and cool that house.
Not bad.
Yeah, and that's with like no insulation in the house.
Oh my.
At this point, okay. Now it's going to be insulated.
Yeah.
And then thinking about getting rid, there's a big like outside air conditioning unit. And it's really not that old. It's about 12 years old. But I'm thinking about getting rid of it. And they've now got these individual, they're inserts, and they insert into the rafter. And it's both a heater and an air conditioner. And rather than having like a big condenser unit on the outside of the house, it's got like a very small condenser unit that mounts outside of the wall. And it's got like high pressure hoses running from there into each of these units. And you can actually control the temperature in each and every room individually.
That's so cool. Wow.
Yeah. Charles, this is Bob.
Yeah.
I put an addition on my house 3 years ago, and rather than adding to my heating, I put in, it's called a mini split, is what it's called. Right. And I put one of those in, and it's amazing that my house heating and air conditioning is now less expensive for more space than it was with just Russ running the other air conditioner. I love the unit. They're so quiet, and I mean, they're terrific.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you know, the things that they've done with, you know, heating and air conditioning now, and these small little individual mini units that you can put, you know, in each individual room or in each section of the house, you know, can really save you, you know, tons and tons of money.
Yep.
Okay?
But however, you pay a little bit on the front end.
Oh, yeah.
For that privilege.
Yeah. But the good news is, you know, the fact that I'm a senior and the fact that right now they're trying to, they're trying to do several things. You know, living in the Southeast, they're really pushing solar. And the other thing is, you know, they're really pushing, you know, updating your heating and air conditioning and insulation. And so I'm trying to take advantage of all of that through the local power company. And, you know, I've had a couple of conversations with them. From what I understand, they can get a contractor to come out, insulate the house, and put in those units, you know, and take the old unit away and get rid of all the old ductwork and everything else. And, you know, I can end up paying for that over about I think they said a 12-year period.
Wow.
And it's just, it's just put into my heating and air conditioning bill.
That's terrific. What a great way to work that.
Yeah, rather than having like a lot of upfront cost.
One
And
big.
it's all federally funded. So, so the local government, they get their money, and then it's all kind of financed through the federal government over a period of time. So it's like, hey, if you can do that, why not? I mean, nobody's done much, to that house as far as heating and air conditioning in about 100 years. 12 years ago, they took a stab at actually putting central heat in it, and they just put this monster that's about half the size of the house, out on the side of it right now. And it's just this, it's very effective. I mean, it's very efficient. It certainly cools the house down very quickly, and heats the house very quickly, but it's noisy and it's enormous, So it just is what it is. So if I can get rid of that, that would be great. And I'd be very happy. So anyhow, anybody else got, we've digressed into heating and air conditioning conversations now. Anybody else got anything that they want to talk about or need to share or something before we all go away here and run around and enjoy the weekend?
Take care.
Thank
Okay,
you.
I guess not. All right. Well, we will see you Monday. Okay. I think I announced to everybody, yeah, there's no days off around the Easter holiday, for county employees or anything. So we will be here Monday at the regular time. Send me some things over the weekend. Jackie, let's figure out how to.
Yeah, I'll work on that for sure.
Okay. Yeah. Get stuff out of your outgoing box and out into the ethers of the internet. Okay.
Okay.
All righty. All right. So have a good one, and we'll see you next week.
Okay. Thank
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.